गालिमा 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 शक्ति दे बलि चढ़ाऊं तेरे आगे स्वीकार करो
Hello everybody, and welcome back into another video. I'm FranklinTurtz, and I'm your internet turtle. Today we are here for the hero overview for Ocelotl, the newest character coming out in For Honor on July 27th. The Ocelotl is bent on revenge, similar to kind of how Kill Bill and John Wick are, except with a more Aztecian twist. And he is here to terrorize the entirety of Heathmoor. The character looks super cool from a design perspective as well as a kit and a feat perspective, so I'm just really excited to jump right on into it here, so let's go. Instead of going right into the hero's kit, I just first wanted to take a second just to appreciate the fashion that this character has. This is unequivocally some of the best basic fashion that I think a character has available in the game now. I'm hard pressed to really think of other characters that may have similar, maybe not similar customization, but similar attributes to their customization that make it really unique and cool. I really just can't think of one comparative to this. And then I think they show later on down the road, or later in the video, later in the stream a little bit, that you get to see some of the more high ends, like once you get to a higher rep, like 7 or 8, some of the higher end pieces of armor that you're able to customize the Ocelotl with. And I gotta say, it all looks fantastic. I can't wait to see some of the different looks that people are going to come up with, some of the different character customizations. I know I'm already starting to brew a few ideas in my brain, so I'm excited to see where that road goes. Something that I've noticed just in general with the character and the excitement around him coming to For Honor is that culturally, both with his design and just in general, like with his lore and whatnot, it's really been exciting. A lot of people have been seeing, countless YouTube comments, TikTok comments for media referring to him, that people are just really genuinely excited to have such a unique character like this in the game now, or going to be anyway, in a week. And it's really cool to see. It's really awesome to see so much of the community, both people that are already playing the game and people that maybe haven't played the game in a while or didn't realize the game was still going on, get this pumped about, something that's upcoming in the game. So now we roll right into Ocelotl's actual fight kit. The first thing that they stressed is that this character does have a few similarities to characters like Shaolin, Meije, Berserker, those types of characters that are able to kind of infinitely chain their lights and heavies together, back and forth. The way this character kind of differs slightly from them is that while they kind of have more rigid pathways with their chain, Ocelotl is actually able to circumvent that and kind of make them eat their hearts out a little bit, in the fact that he's essentially able to chain everything into everything. The only rule that stops his chains is if you do the same move twice in a row. So if you do like a light to light, heavy to heavy, stuff like that will end up stopping his chain. But everything else basically loops into everything. So you could do a light into bash, into heavy, into zone, into bash, into light, into heavy, into light, into zone, into the possibilities are endless. There's a lot of mathematicians out there that probably would not be able to even fathom the sheer amount of combos that this character can probably get up to. It's kind of like the number pi, when you're trying to memorize all the numbers in the sequence for pi. I'm pretty sure no one's actually memorized every single number in pi, because it's an infinite amount, and that's essentially what this character is. Just pi with a fancy headdress on. Every single light attack the Ocelotl does is with his spear, and then every heavy attack he does is also with the, I am not going to pronounce this correct, the Maquahito? Maquahuli mac and cheese. Ocelotl's lights are nothing particularly special. The regular one, I guess, is the 500 or whatever the standardized starter light is. And then the chain one, whether it's from the starting light or a heavy or any other move, the chain one looks like it's about 400 ms, so it definitely helps to keep up the pressure. It's a very fast light. I'm pretty sure Nooshes are also like 400 ms, so I guess if you can imagine how the speed that Nooshes chain lights are, that's basically what we have here. Ocelotl's heavies are kind of similar in that there's not too much going on with them. However, the chain heavy is also a little bit faster than other chain heavies necessarily. I believe they said it was like 700 ms or something like that. They really talked a lot about the fact that you're supposed to be terrified of this character. He's supposed to have constant pressure, constant momentum on you. And so by design, they made his chains pretty speedy that way. But the finisher heavies are unblockable, and they're also very wide swinging. So I can imagine in team fights as well, that's going to definitely be pretty strong. His zones are where he gets extremely beefy, and he really flexes his muscles. Essentially every zone that he has, whether it's a starter zone, a chain zone, his finisher zone, no matter what version, what iteration of the zone it is, they're all going to be hyper armored. And also a good mention is that his finisher, not only like, you know, zones in general, overall seem to have a better hitbox than most other standard moves, but his finisher zone in particular seems to have a massively wide hitbox to the left, it looks like. So that's going to be really nice for team fights for sure, because with it being hyper armored as well, it's going to be a very low risk, high reward move if you use it the right way and try not to feed too much revenge. I think you'll be having a good time with that for sure. Ocelotl also has a lot of bashes. Boo! I'm sorry. So the first bash that Ocelotl has is a standard dodge forward bash. 500 ms, opens people up for, you know, different combos and stuff that he can do. It's obviously part of his multitude of chains. He could also do a feintable bash, mid-chain, kind of like akin to Shaolin and maybe like Jormungandr or a few other characters that are able to feint their bashes mid-chain. So that's obviously, you know, really good for pressure. But then interesting enough, he also has a finisher bash as well, akin to, you know, the rules that we had before that they said that you can finish out any chain by doing the same move twice. Remember, that's essentially the only rules that this character lives by. He can essentially do his bash into a finisher bash where he basically just cleaves, just fucking Jedi, Anakin Skywalker, Count Dooku, slices their head. I'm still not sure how that quantifies as a bash, but slices their head for this bash. And something unique about these bashes as well is that they don't necessarily confirm anything afterwards. Well, the dodge forward bash does, obviously. But as far as the chain bash, it does not necessarily confirm anything. All these bashes are going to do direct damage. So I guess that's kind of the trade-off, is that some of the bashes are going to do the damage and have a follow-up, but it'll be less damage, and then other bashes will not be able to confirm things afterward, but maybe do more damage. It's both scary and cool, question mark, to see that he actually has direct damage on the bashes. Only time's going to tell if it's too strong. Historically speaking, the game hasn't really done well with bashes that actually do direct damage. I don't know if any of them in the game, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Warmonger's bash is technically direct damage with the bleed, but I'm trying to remember if there's any other bashes that do direct damage. Medjay, yeah, there's a few characters that are able to do direct damage with their bashes, but it's definitely not the rule, it's more the exception than anything. He also has dodge lights, just again, standard dodge lights, not showing the speed exactly, I don't remember what they said, but they seem pretty quick, so use them to dodge around stuff and whatnot. The last thing I really want to go over with the Ocelotl is not necessarily the fact that he's a dual stance character or anything like that, but he does have like an alternative mode that he can go into if you know, press down or whatever it is for your full guard essentially, or if you're like Nobushi, you're doing your shadow stance, JJ's, stuff like that, like alternative stances basically in that manner. They did specify that this stance, this mode, is not really useful for 1v1s, because outside of this stance, you're only doing a jumping heavy that will pin people. Now, I'm not sure, you know, personally for me, I kind of like to mess around with stuff that may not necessarily be for 1v1s. I'm wondering how fast you can actually transition back and forth from the stance and be able to do like a light or a bash, something like that, to kind of pseudo mix up your opponent. But we'll have to see when I actually get my hands on him, like how possible that actually truly is. But yeah, you're able to basically move faster while you're in this stance. Just a smidge, you actually look like you're prowling, which is kind of neat. And again, like it's going to be uber useful for 4s to be able to pin an opponent. Like you'll be able to essentially, it goes a crazy amount of range, and you'll be able to actually jump on that opponent to set things up for your team. The way that he moves in this stance and the way like he can't guard or anything like that, it definitely reminds me of Highlander if we were to make comparisons. And as far as like jumping into the heavy, doing that whole like animalistic prowling sort of movement, also reminds me of Shaman a lot. So it's kind of like a hybrid between that two when I look at this stance. It also helps too that both Ocelotl and Shaman are both very like animalistic fighters, animalistic heroes in a way. So there's definitely a lot of similarities that you can draw between those two as well. And now we get to the feats. Oh boy. So this tier 1, we're just going to roll right through them here. So the tier 1, probably one of the craziest, most unique, most potentially overpowered feats that we've seen in quite some time. I'm super excited for it, but I'm also super dreading it. Again, we will have to stand by to see how broken or how non-broken it actually is in, you know, full-on gameplay with the public. So basically what happens is when you die and you don't get executed, you turn into a spoopy ghost boy, spoopy ghost man that can walk around the map. You'll be regenerating health slowly over time. You cannot rebirth yourself. You cannot be brought back from the dead right next to an enemy, apparently, as you can see from the area of effect that the tier 1 gives off, or that shows you. But you are able to spawn, you know, pretty close to people. Not right in front of them, it's still decently close. So this is definitely going to be utilized for sure as like a rotational slash ganking tool. It's definitely going to make people think twice about running around as a full-on 4-man gank squadron, because you're going to be seeing these Ocelotls all over the place that are going to be backcapping your points all the match, all the time. So hopefully it's going to make people think about, you know, maybe I should hang back and hold my point, because you never know when an Ocelotl is just going to be hanging around the corner waiting to swipe up that point from you. As far as I'm aware, as far as I can tell, the feat has no cooldown. This literally happens every time you die and don't get executed. So this is going to be happening often. I definitely feel, if I was to predict, I definitely feel like they're going to instill some sort of cooldown, lower the health regen that you get off it. They're going to have to do something with this, because on its face, it looks very, very strong. So I definitely feel like a nerf will be incoming for it at some point soon, but who knows what's going to happen. This is UB after all. They always got to keep us guessing. The tier 2 and tier 3 feats are decent, but nowhere near as good as the first one by comparison, but we're still going to get into them nonetheless. Ocelotl's tier 2, whenever he dies, basically whoever killed him is going to get the defense debuff, as well as be revealed on the map. They're essentially cursed, so this is kind of the way they described it in the Warrior's Den, is it's kind of a Ocelot deterrent, or like a deterrent on trying to kill him all the time or focus him down all the time, because you run the risk of, if he runs his feat, that you're going to be getting this defense debuff and be revealed for everybody else to see. I'm not sure exactly how it works as far as, because obviously when you're in Dominion and you're group fighting, multiple people can get the same takedown for fighting one person. So I don't know if they kill him, everybody gets revealed and everybody gets the debuff. They didn't really explain that too well from what I heard, but we'll have to test that out for sure in the live game when it comes out to see if that's actually something that happens, because that would actually be kind of busted if everybody got a defense debuff if they were group fighting like one Ocelotl or so. The tier 3 feat, much like the tier 2, they're essentially kind of accentuating the fact that he's a hunter and that he's angry at everybody, but they basically made it so that if you get a kill, that you get a speed increase and that you also get a attack increase as well. So this will just accentuate the fact that, you know, he's hunting people, he's going to be doing more damage, he's going to be more dangerous to other people on the map, so that definitely helps out his kit in general. And the final feat is, I don't know how else to describe this specifically. It's basically just Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Get over here! They basically took Shinobi's old ranged guard break and they gave it to Ocelotl as a tier 4. But unlike Shinobi's guard break, this also does bleed. It's very strong as well. I feel like the way that his feats are set up are literally like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, except the bread is the most delicious part of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, unlike the actual insides of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which are normally the most delicious or the most scrumptious. So it's kind of like a weird reverse peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or whatever sandwich you guys prefer. I just am really hungry for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I guess. And that's a little look at the Ocelotl. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for all the support you guys have been giving, especially lately. I've been noticing that YouTube's definitely been picking up a lot lately, so that's really awesome to see. Until next time, stay turtly, stay awesome, and I will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.